Hello, client advocates and male mentors. Welcome to your virtual training given by me, myself, and I. I have broken down this little bit of virtual training for you into 3 different videos. This first video, I'm going to be just reviewing what has changed since you've been gone. A lot of client advocates and male mentors are coming back for the first time this month since March, February, even January. And so I'm going to be covering what's new in regards to COVID policy, what is new in regards to normal policy here at the center that may have changed since you've been gone. The second video is going to talk to you. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the transition that we are working on in regards to Earn While You Learn. So definitely take a look at that video. And then the third video is going to offer you a brief reflection and just a little something that I want you to reflect on yourself and kind of mull over in your heart as you do come back to the center and begin working with clients again. Just something I've been thinking about since doing so much client advocate work. Especially in April and May when we were down to such a small staff serving our clients. So just some of my own reflections. So this first video, I'm going to try to be short and sweet because I know a lot of you have been back in some capacity, and certainly when you do come back, there will hopefully be someone with you, either Beth here on a daytime shift or a fellow client advocate on an evening shift who will be able to talk through some of these changes with you in a more detailed manner. But I'm going to start by talking about what has changed since you have been gone. What is new? So let's see here. Where'd my little sticky note go? All right, here we go. First things first, COVID policy. Okay, what's going on with our health screening process? What does that look like? Beth wrote a letter to you all that she sent out via email that I linked in a newsletter, and that she has also printed and put in a plastic sleeve for you to read and review. That's located on the circular desk in the front desk room. So hopefully this all is somewhat familiar to you, but the basics are this. We're asking that while you're working with the client, you wear a mask. If you are working with a fellow client advocate or male mentor that would like you to wear a mask in their presence, we ask that you certainly honor that. Right now, we are screening clients as well as ourselves as staff members, volunteers of any kind. We are screening ourselves as part of a health protocol in a couple of ways as well. We are taking temperatures upon arrival to the center, and we are also making sure that we, as well as our clients, are passing a 4-question questionnaire that just asks them questions in regards to potential exposure to COVID or any current illness that they might be struggling with. So whenever you arrive to the center or whenever a client arrives to the center, we are screening them for their temperature. We are using a no-touch forehead thermometer to take their temperature. And right now, the CDC says that if their temperature is 100.4 degrees or less, that is in the green. That means that is no temperature. They're welcome to come into our center. However, I will make a brief note that our forehead thermometer does seem to run high sometimes, especially if a client has just walked here in 90-degree weather or ran across the street, to get here. So if you're seeing that the forehead thermometer is running or has detected the client's temperature or your temperature as 101 degrees or less, we are asking that you use the digital thermometer that is also located on the volunteer desk in the front desk room alongside the forehead thermometer. Use the digital thermometer that actually goes underneath their tongue. We have probe covers for you to use with that. Use that to double check and make sure that their temperature is less than 100.4. The reason why we're not using the digital thermometer all the time is because it takes much longer to detect the temperature. It takes about 3 minutes or so. The forehead thermometer is instantaneous. And it does seem to work just fine 98% of the time, but every so often we get a reading that seems a little high. That could be because of outside circumstances. So in that case, double check with the digital thermometer, make sure their temperature is 100.4 degrees or less. Okay, there is a daily client log sheet that we're using. You'll see that log sheet on a clipboard when you come in for your shift. We typically leave it up on the volunteer desk, or it may be down on the small shelf by our front door. And that is where we're logging their temperature. That's also where we have the 4-question questionnaire, so that you make sure that you ask them the health questions that we've listed about whether they're feeling ill, whether they've been in contact with someone who's been ill, their travel, etc. And then it also just notes on this daily client log sheet to make sure that they have proper PPE. So that means making sure they have a mask. If they don't have a mask with them, they can take one of ours. That is theirs to keep. And we're asking them to sanitize their hands upon walking into our building. We do all of this. We do all of this screening process for clients down at the foot of the steps. You can walk upstairs as a volunteer to take your own temperature and to sanitize your hands. But in regards to the clients, when they ring the doorbell and we let them in, we ask them to wait at the base of the steps, so that we can meet them down there. One of our client advocates can meet them down there and screen them before we allow them to walk up the stairs and into our center. We are not utilizing the waiting room right now. Please take the client straight to a counseling room, place them in the client counseling room, ask them if they want a glass of water, and then you can close the door and come talk to your partner. Or Beth is typically managing this process during the daytime hours, so she'll close the door, come talk to the client advocates, and decide who's going to take that client. Okay? All right, again, there is a big letter that describes all this in detail that you can always read and review when you are in for your shift. That is located on the circular table in the front desk room. Couple of other things in regards to since you've been gone, things you may have missed since you've been gone. We have updated a couple of our intake forms. We updated our pregnancy test intake form. Please review that when you are here. Take one, grab one out of the closet there in the volunteer room and review it. We rearranged some of the questions to make the form flow a bit better in regards to conversation. And we also added some squares throughout the intake form that contain follow-up questions or statements to really develop that fruitful conversation that we want to have around some of the really big questions we ask these clients, like have they had a past abortion, like their experience of any past abuse, like their birth control use. Sometimes they give us an answer to those heavier questions and we kind of feel stuck. We don't know where to go with that information. So we've included some boxes on the right hand side of the form that do prompt you or suggest some follow-up questions, some follow-up statements in regards to some of those bigger topics. A couple of other notes on the intake form. Please make sure that you are reading and having your client sign the client authorization form. We moved that up a little bit in the intake form itself. So you're really getting some basic demographic information, address, phone number, birth date, and then you're asking them to sign off on this authorization form. I typically say, all right, before we go on and I learn a little bit more about your personal situation and your health history and all that good stuff, I'm going to pause and we're going to sign off on this authorization form, and then I read it aloud. The reason why I make sure to read it aloud to them is specifically because I want to explicitly say, again, they should have already heard this when we scheduled an appointment with them, but we as client advocates, we say again that we do not perform or refer for abortions here at our center. Okay, so they are signing off on that and acknowledging the fact that we will not go on to refer them for abortion. We are seeing more and more abortion-minded women, which is great because we are getting in between them and Planned Parenthood. But we've seen a couple times now that a client will come back for her repeat ultrasound or something 2 weeks after this initial appointment, and they will challenge us and say, well, weren't you going to refer me to an abortion clinic if that's what I decided? Or aren't you going to give me more information on the abortion pill? Where can I get that? Where can I get it? No, we are not going to give you information on how to obtain an abortion. We will discuss your options with you. We will confirm your pregnancy, confirm gestational age for you here, right? I always make that clear, like what we do here, the fact that we are a confirmation stop and a place to gather all of your information to discuss your options in a confidential setting before going on to make a decision yourself. But we have to be very clear about the fact that we do not perform or refer for abortions. Now, sometimes you are perfectly crystal clear about this, and they still act as if we never said that, and that's okay. This is selective hearing at its finest. Sometimes they just hear what they want to hear, but at the very least, we have this. They signed off on the fact that we did acknowledge the fact that we do not perform or refer for abortion here at our center. Another thing to note, please make sure that on page 6, this is kind of your post-appointment notes. Please be very, very clear on this part of the intake form. Leave detailed notes for the next client advocate to be able to read and get a really good idea of where this client was at. Please just answer all the questions. Pregnancy test outtake or outcome, initial pregnancy test result. Please mark that positive, negative, inconclusive. We sometimes have client advocates who don't go back to this after they're done filling out intake information with their client. And then we're left to wonder, was the test positive? What happened? What is she thinking? Is she still abortion minded? Was she referred on to prenatal care? Like, we have no idea. And Beth kind of has to do some investigative work. So please do fill out everything on this intake form. This is an extensive process for many clients. It does not end the day that you walk out the door and kind of say goodbye to the client. Beth is following up with this client. We oftentimes see this client for another ultrasound in a couple weeks, and we have to have accurate data and information here on this form. Okay? All right. We also updated the STD test intake form. All we did here was make sure that the consent forms, there are 3 consent forms that an STD test patient has to sign off on: consent for STD testing, consent as to the limitations of our STD services, and consent for release of the STD test results. These forms used to be in white on white paper, and they were behind the purple STD test intake form. We have now printed these consent forms on purple paper, and we put them on top of the STD test intake form, so that before you even get into the conversation and the appointment with this STD test patient client, that you remember that you have to have them sign off on these forms. Just begin the appointment with having them sign off on these consent forms, because we've seen a lot of client advocates forget. I've done this a couple times, more than a couple times as well. We forget to have them sign off on them at the end, okay? So do that first, and we hope we've made that easier by printing it on purple paper and putting it on top of the intake form. All right, couple more things. Beth has created this nifty folder chock full of really great information for you all. This is a great reference point, especially if you're a newer client advocate. We've got a couple of those. But even if you're a veteran client advocate, this is a great folder to review when you are here for your shift. It covers how to handle an abortion call. So some of those resources that I've given you over the years, how to talk to an abortion-minded client, we've consolidated that all and put it here in this folder. It covers how to navigate eKairos. So if the computer system is still a little foreign to you, this is a great place to turn. And then it also just has a section for general front desk information that is always good to brush up on. So this is always located on the front desk. It's a red folder. The different sections are labeled. So feel free to utilize this on your shift, read over it, review it for yourself. All right, couple more things here in regards to the Since You've Been Gone portion of training. A little resource review. Please do remember that we have really awesome resources for you to use with your client when discussing hard topics like abortion or like chastity. So I'll actually start with chastity. That is a topic that I get questions about a lot. Laura, how can I talk to my client about chastity in a way that really hits them, in a way that makes sense to them? We created these brochures over a year ago. They're called Created for Love. I know that this is backwards for you. I created these in-house, okay? And I created them with our chastity education program in mind. And these brochures are very, very helpful in, kind of giving structure to a conversation about chastity, authentic love, marriage, sex with your clients. So I like to grab this, especially with our STD test clients, but with our pregnancy test clients too. And I like to share with them the good news in regards to God's plan for sex and marriage. Um, Oftentimes I like to lead this conversation with a very simple question. I ask them if they're happy in their relationship, if they feel fulfilled in their relationship, if they're happy with the sexual decisions they've been making. And oftentimes that answer is no. And I ask if I can share with them a little bit about God's plan for sex and for marriage and for relationships. And I use this brochure to help me kind of walk through a mini lesson on why God created sex, why sex is designed for the marital relationship. I talk about, their desire to be fully known and fully loved, and how that's, that desire is in all of us, and that's what pushes us oftentimes to make poor decisions in regards to our sexuality and to relationships, because we want so deeply to be known and loved. But we find that feeling, that we find that reality of being known and loved in our relationship with God, and we will only ever experience the joy of sexual intimacy in the context of a relationship that is committed, in the context of a relationship that is marriage. And so this brochure really helps you talk through that with them. But remember, I always say you don't need to be a TOB expert to have a chastity talk with one of your clients. What would you tell your daughter? What would you tell your best friend? What would you tell your sister who's dating someone who's treating her like crap, who's cheating on her? What would you tell your friend, your sister, your daughter who is sleeping around? You wouldn't feel the need to grab, theology of the body and explain church teaching perfectly. You would tell her that she is loved, tell her that she deserves more. You would tell her that this isn't going to make her happy. And you wouldn't stutter when you say that. You wouldn't be afraid to say, hey, girl, wake up. This is not going to make you happy. This type of behavior is not going to fulfill you, to leave you fulfilled. And you would tell her she deserves a man who is fully committed to her, that would wait for her, that would make vows to her before he takes anything from her, before he enjoys her body in any way, shape, or form. You would tell your sister, your best friend, that. So don't be afraid to share in that way with these clients as well. You don't need to be a TOB expert to have a conversation on this topic with the clients. Okay. In regards to the abortion topic, okay, we are seeing more and more abortion-minded clients, and the conversations are getting difficult. I had a couple of clients that I saw over quarantine that were, they were doozies. They were so tough. I had one girl who just straight up was like, "You're not going to convince me otherwise. I just want the ultrasound. That's it. I don't want to have much of a conversation on any of this stuff." And I had to figure out how to build a relationship with her and how to have a conversation, somewhat of a conversation, on the topic of abortion so that she was informed. There's just been some really hard ones. So I want to remind you that we have this awesome sheet, okay, that is found in the lab, that is called After the Ultrasound, What Are My Options? We've gone over this sheet a couple of times in other training sessions, but please remember that it is there. When you see a positive pregnancy test and you are ready to relay that information to your client and bring her in for an ultrasound, there should be 2 things from the lab that you always grab. Grab that proof of pregnancy sheet that you're going to fill out for her, and grab the after the ultrasound, what are my options sheet, okay? So that when you are done with the ultrasound and she knows whether or not there's a heartbeat, she knows for sure how far along she is, she knows that this is a baby, right? She saw it on the ultrasound screen. You then are responsible for taking her back into the counseling room and going over her options. This sheet is a great tool. Adoption, parenting, abortion. You cover each topic. Adoption, open her eyes to that possibility. Parenting, figure out what she is most afraid of, what those obstacles to parenting are for her. And abortion, educate her on the risks and realities of abortion. Particularly, be specific. If she's 12 weeks pregnant, talk to her about the suction abortion. If she is 16 weeks pregnant, talk to her about the D&E abortion. If she's 7 weeks pregnant, talk to her about the abortion pill. And remember that on top of this sheet, we have a brochure called Abortion Procedures located on the front desk, where the chastity brochures are located as well. That is a great tool to help you explain the procedures. And we've got these great DVDs. We just ordered a bunch of new DVDs from Live Action, Lila Rose's organization. You probably have seen these videos because they're also located at abortionprocedures.org. But this is the DVD version where this former abortionist discusses all of the different types of abortion procedures. Grab this. There's a copy of it on the turntable in the kitchenette. Beth keeps a DVD already in the DVD player in counseling room 1 that you can turn on in a jiffy. But if you're in counseling room 2 or 3, go grab this DVD and invite her to watch this with you, so that at the very least she is aware, fully aware and fully informed as to what this procedure entails. Planned Parenthood lies to these women about what this procedure looks like, and they paint it as something very simple and very easy, and very, nonchalant, non-consequential. But that's not the reality. So allow her to see for herself what these procedures entail, what risks they entail for herself. Don't be afraid to use this DVD. I think before the ultrasound machine, client advocates were very reliant on DVDs. At that time, we were using the DVD called An Informed Look. Now that ultrasound is such a game changer, it's such a powerful tool. It oftentimes, converts women on the spot that we're not using the DVD as much. But if this girl, after her ultrasound, is still considering abortion, don't be afraid to use this DVD. Okay, I think that just about does it for the Since You've Been Gone portion of training. So that kind of covers everything that has changed, everything that I want you to be on the lookout for as you start coming back to the center after having been gone for a few months. So I hope that answers any questions that you have, any lingering concerns about how we're going about things since the quarantine. But remember that when you do come in for your shift, your first, your second, or third shift back, that you will always have a partner here to help. That if you're a daytime shift, you'll have Beth here, you'll have myself here, and please feel free to shoot me any emails or text, call me anytime with any other follow-up questions or in regards to anything that I may have missed. Okay, so that is the end of video 1, Since You've Been Gone review. Thanks for watching.